Hey, what's going on, all you beautiful souls out there? I am back with another reaction video, and this one's gonna be, of course, back to school session. And I did get a little sneak peek into the title, which is The Night of Terror. Oh dang it, the history of terror. And of course, I did get a little bit of let's just go switch to it, huh? So I did learn a little bit from the comment section saying that no, this has nothing to do with Christianity. And I already said, I think in the videos to follow, you can see how I got there. But hey, so apparently this is about, well, someone said that this probably was written, I believe, a little bit after 9/11.
There are several.
And we have Par. Interesting. So this is going to be in the name of, or in the name of terror. Yeah, in the name of God, the history of terror. Sabaton history video number 86. And we got baby boy Par, man. We got Par in the hizzy. Let's go see what this is about. This is a 17-minute video, so of course I'm gonna keep the intro nice and short and sweet. Appreciate all my Patreon supporters out there who are helping me, you know, support my channel, give me little monies every now and then, a little bit of donation. I really do appreciate it. Can't say it enough. And also thank you to all the Sabaton fans, man. You guys are like the core of my channel. Like, you guys are the reason why I got so big. I think my channel really was only like almost at 1,000. It was like 900. It was almost at 1,000 of just pure Sabaton fans before I finally started venturing to other people. So I really do appreciate everybody who comes back for like the history videos and all those older songs that people aren't really, you know, it's not too piquant for them, you know what I'm saying? They don't really care for them. So I really do appreciate every single one of you guys that do come back. And I do see familiar names in the comment section. Hey man, I really do appreciate you guys. Like I said, man, you guys donating your guys' time. What else could I ask for in return? Thank you so much. Anyways, Jay, shut up. I like that helmet, that Roman helmet, and we see some leg. Oh my damn. Let's hop right on in. Oh, actually no, I need my pen. Now let's hop right on in. Oh my damn.
There are several reasons why people and nations go to war.
For God is one of them.
Very unfortunate, but it is true.
Sic semper tyrannis, thus always to tyrants. These famous words, promising death to unjust rulers and dictators alike, are commonly attributed to Brutus as he fatally stabbed Julius Caesar.
Oh, is that what he said? Oh, I think it was part of a play. But didn't they say that Julius Caesar said "et tu, Brutus," like you as well? I think that was just a play. I don't know if he really said that or not.
That assassination is one of the earliest recorded acts of terrorism. The ancient world had its fair amount of tyrannicide and political backstabbing, though, the kind with actual knives. Violent gangs and hired killers roamed the streets of Rome and Athens, intimidating or outright murdering those who would cross the wrong people. The Middle Ages saw terror used as a weapon in warfare. Armed bands raided villages, attacking seemingly random people and robbing them of their valuables.
It was a great way to demoralize people too. My dog's crying, I don't know why.
But terrorism as we know it began in the pre-modern age of Enlightenment. The philosophers of the 18th century began to fundamentally change the understanding people had about power and the natural order of societies. The general public began to grasp that sovereignty of the state did not have to reside in single figures like kings or emperors, but could in the nation as a whole. The common people consequently felt that they were subjects of a deeply unfair system, which ruled through the oppression of the masses. As the people revolted, the ideas of tyrannicide re-emerged. It would be the French Revolution that really began changing things. After the violent deposition and later murder of Louis XVI, it was expected that his
Pretty infamous. Didn't they kill his whole family too? Or was it just him? Pretty infamous.
Deposition and later murder of Louis XVI, it was expected that his socio-political system of oppression by the privileged few would vanish as well. But even as the old order fell apart in the chaos of the revolution, the violence did not stop. On the contrary, the National Convention of the Revolutionary Jacobins proudly proclaimed that terror is the order of the day. Anyone affiliated with the old regime, or even slightly suspicious of standing in the way of progress, was suddenly fair game for popular violence. Having a different opinion or doubts about the course of the revolution became synonymous with treason. everyone could be a counter-revolutionary, as the specifications were held deliberately vague. Violence against enemies was in fact encouraged. The political assassin who killed one to save 1,000 became the central romantic figure of the time. In its zealotry for change, the French Revolution set the language and purpose of modern terrorism. Robespierre saw terror as prompt, severe, inflexible justice, a virtue that enforced social progress and cultural change.
That's interesting.
Prompt, severe, inflexible justice, a virtue that enforced social progress and cultural change. The rule was given over to a régime de terreur, and its members proudly called themselves les terroristes. Terror also consequently destroyed any chance of political dialogue. The traditional barriers of humanity broke down as terror simply bred more terror. Blood ran in the streets as hundreds of thousands were killed by guillotine, firing squad, and lynch mob until the revolution eventually turned in on itself.
Yeah, that really strikes terror when your enemy does not care who they're even killing. Women and children. If they do that to women and children, what are they going to do to you?
Now, the Russian Empire was still, by the end of the 19th century, easily the most backward nation in Europe. Over 85% of its people were illiterate peasants, living in poverty and shackled to serfdom. There were no elections, no political parties or trade unions to ensure their civil rights. Instead, they were ruled by the absolute power of the Tsar, and he used the police and the army to keep it that way. But new opposition began to appear. Marxists, liberalists, anarchists, they all
Sorry about that. I had to let my dog use the restroom. That's why he was crying.
began to appear. Marxists, liberalists, anarchists, they all stood in opposition to the exploitation of the agrarian people, and were often led and supported by groups of young students who dreamed of bettering the Russian society. Conspiratorial activity had an intriguing, mystical flair to it, and many would-be assassins stylized themselves as fanatic nihilists who lived only for the cause, and the cause was the destruction of state authority. Many praised
Kind of like how rebellious teenagers always act, except, a little extreme.
banditry as the most noble and pure form of the revolutionary. Each assault against the state, each knife politician, each policeman gunned down was a step forward. The perfect terrorist freed himself of all ethical concern, since the concepts of morality and legality were already perverted by the oppression of the state. He would have no emotional attachments save to the cause and never compromise his goals, for the revolution would be total or it would not be at all. The goal of terrorism was to demonstrate the weakness of the governing elite and to provoke popular rebellion against them.
Okay.
The governing elite and never compromise his goals, for the revolution would be total or it would not be at all. The goal of terrorism was to demonstrate the weakness of the governing elite and to provoke popular rebellion against them. Total or it would not be at all. The goal of terrorism was to demonstrate the weakness of the governing elite and to provoke popular rebellion against them. Another game changer was the invention of high explosives. In the past, gunpowder plots had been crude and prone to failure. Rebellion against them. Another game changer was the invention of high explosives. In the past, gunpowder plots had been crude and prone to failure. But Alfred Nobel's invention of dynamite soon found its way into the hands of terrorists. Unlike knives and revolvers, using dynamite would not be mistaken for an ordinary murder. However, when Tsar Alexander II was killed this way in 1881, so were a lot of innocent bystanders as well. Russian newspapers began flooding the market, each trying to sell themselves by printing in big bright letters about new assassinations and new terrorist attacks. The media played its part in spreading the propaganda of the deed, attracting people, bitter, alienated by society, and thirsty for revenge, to a cause that was promised to be popular, historical, and grandiose. Over the following decades, modern terrorism took on many forms. Socialist violence surged in Europe and the US after World War I. Russia fell to the Bolsheviks and saw the terror of the Russian Civil War. And a series of political murders destabilized interwar Europe. Japan.
So in a way, they're just pretty much saying how terrorism back then was just pretty much revolutions, or the beginning of revolutions. The weak attacking the elite in ways that, you know, sometimes, I mean, creating bombs to destroy, to kill the czar, but like I said, kill civilians too. And the media does play its part. That's why people nowadays, you know, when you had, well, not nowadays, there hasn't been a serial killer in a while, thank God. But like Ted Bundy, and there's like some other ones where like they gained their fame from propaganda, from the media talking about them, and they fed off of that and did more and more. Spread the word, spread the terror.
Modern terrorism took on many forms. Socialist violence surged in Europe and the US after World War I. Russia fell to the Bolsheviks.
Took on many forms.
And saw the terror of the Russian Civil War. And a series of political murders destabilized interwar Europe. Japan underwent a whole era of government by assassination, and the Ku Klux Klan reemerged as a big threat in the US. In the 1930s and 40s, state terror from fascist, National Socialist, and Stalinist governments was turned against its own people from the top down. After 1945, the world saw anti-colonial terror, violent ethno-nationalism, or radical separatist movements, white supremacist terror, radical left-wing bombings, lone wolf killing sprees. The tools of terror could be used by any group and for any cause. Still, what many of us nowadays
it's quite versatile.
associate with modern terrorism was shaped by the events of September 11, 2001, when a group of Arab jihadists hijacked 4 airliners and crashed them into the World Trade Center and the Pentagon. Seemingly overnight, the Western world focused on the existence of international Islamist terrorism. It was, of course, way older than that. Jihad, that is, to struggle and strive on the path of God, can be interpreted as a defensive war in the name of Islam. Jihadis believe in Tawhid, that the only authority comes from Allah, and every Muslim should be solely guided by His will and the words and actions of the Prophet. No other worldly authority, no laws of states or secular societies could stand above them. With the collapse of the Ottoman Empire, the Muslim world lost its acting unified authority, the Caliph. Most Muslim countries' societies could stand above them. With the collapse of the Ottoman Empire,
Okay, interesting.
the Caliph. Most Muslim countries came under Western economic dependence and political influence. Consequently, a small westernized elite emerged that ruled the Arab nations through secular and industrial means. The first major resistance against such modernized societies was the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt. Their motto embodied jihad. Modernized societies was the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt. Their motto embodied jihad. God is our objective, the Quran is our constitution, the Prophet is our leader, struggle is our way, and death for the sake of God is the highest of our aspirations. Their aim was to push the European imperialists out of the Muslim world and retract their secularist influence. Disgust and hatred for Western materialism, open sexuality, and the culture of the American way grew. For the devout jihadists, obedience to Allah meant not just rejecting these values, but open revolt against them. The popularity of jihadist teaching surged as the westernized leaders failed to secure economic stability and instead resorted to autocratic oppression. Young men, disillusioned and lost, were vulnerable for radical interpretations of the Quran. The Palestinian cause, the Iranian Revolution, or the fight of the Mujahideen against the Soviet Union in Afghanistan, they all radicalized a new generation to violence. The belief that the deeds of a small vanguard could free the Muslim world from Western shackles unleashed a new era of international terrorism. It was now a tool to humiliate the West and cripple their societies with fear and outrage. Martyrdom, especially the destruction of the target by the death of the assassin himself, became an ideal in the eyes of the most radical. The suicide bomber, motivated by the promises of the afterlife, was especially effective in horrifying the Western world.
In the same way that the Caroleans, when Carolus Rex would lead his Caroleans into battle, they weren't scared to die. So that's why they were so effective as well. They weren't scared because knew to them, according to their religion, of course, that there was an afterlife, and God willed that whoever's gonna die was gonna die. That's why they had no fear. In the same way that's how they're motivated too. Suicide bombings, to do that, to have no fear of death whatsoever because you are that confident there's something on the other side. Very effective.
Was especially effective in horrifying the Western world. And each terrorist act produced the desired echo, both of repulsion and admiration. Historians are debating if this recent era of jihadi terror was fundamentally a new thing or a similar phenomenon to the terror of the past. Each religion has its fair share of radicals and fundamentalists who would not refrain from violence against non-believers. But the idiosyncratic use of Islamic teachings, the prospect of apocalyptic struggle and beneficial martyrdom is rather new. Still, beyond the religious rhetoric, the leaders of Al-Qaeda, Hamas, and ISIS all have very secular motives for their use of terror. All seek to hurt and provoke their enemies and to recruit more followers through an escalating circle of violence. But the end is to be the acquisition of power, territory, and influence among their people. What has also changed is the use of the media. Terrorists know full well that every attack will be at the center of media attention for weeks. They themselves...
They get all that clout, all that energy gets aimed towards them. I mean, I understand that news has to be told, but dang, man, don't give them the clout. Don't give them the attention. It's kind of hard, too, because that's what they feed off of, and they want to do it more and more. And like you said, that attracts other people to become more radicalized. They're pretty much getting, like, all this fame and all this, what's it called? All this promotion for free through the media to people who are just watching it. And they're like, oh, dang, these guys are fighting against, the whole Western society, these small groups of people. Then they want to join in. And that's, like I said, it's free promotion.
Will use the internet and social media to connect with sympathizers all over the world and display their horrific acts of violence to entice others to follow. It would be foolhardy to assume that terrorism will be simply eradicated one day. Instead, it will continue to evolve.
As long as people are around, there's going to be terrorism. There's going to be all... as long as people are around, all the negativity that comes with people will be around. Same thing goes for the other way. As long as people are around, there's gonna be all the stuff that's beautiful that humans have created as well. It just goes hand in hand.
To be part of radical causes and beliefs. Terrorists, no matter their religion, ethnicity, or political conviction, will always try to hurt their tyrants through acts of fear and violence. Hoping to change an oppressive system, they will continue to kill.
Sorry guys, I worked today.
And hurt innocents. We can try to understand their cause, try to understand the history of terrorism itself, but we can never, ever really justify it.
Stand up and show me your face.
If you could justify it in a certain situation, then it probably wasn't terrorism. You could call it revenge, which is, that's not, revenge isn't good either. You gotta turn the other cheek. But at the same time, it just depends on the situation. Sometimes you gotta, pay back and revenge. Other times, maybe not so much. You gotta turn the other cheek. It's just a cat and mouse game, and it's a fine line.
Suicidal in a trance, a religious army. Fight without a uniform and hide in the crowd. Call it holy, call it just, authorized by heaven. Leave you wounded as they die and call it God's will.
You have songs like, for example, The Final Solution, which is about...
They're about to... Wait, I did The Final Solution. Yeah, I'm about to say, what's the spoiler alert? But I did Final Solution. That was Hitler and the concentration camps, and I really like that song. Because it was genius how they did it. I like the words. I wish they said more in that song, like I said. But they did a real good idea, or they did really good at showing how propaganda works. How you can turn on each other, how you can turn on your neighbors through just listening and being in a little, an echo chamber. Not good. And apparently we haven't learned our lesson.
People and committing horrible atrocities in the name of a political or ideological thing, right? But there are also, for example, suicide bombers, people that commit horrible atrocities in the name of religion, whatever their religion happens to be.
Yeah, that's true. And the song In the Name of God takes up exactly that. It's a bit of a, also controversial topic because there is a certain part that can be connected to rebellion and uprisings in it as well.
And that's why it's so attractive to teens, because teens are rebellious naturally. They hate order. They hate parental status. They don't like being told what to do. We've all been there, but sometimes they can see these videos and they can get radicalized to the point where they're not just rebellious. They're going a step further than that.
But this song refers mainly to the people who by religious minds, commit it, not for necessarily to achieve anything else than attacking people who don't think the same way that they do.
And this is not something. Sure, we know it goes back. You can read the Bible and see it going back thousands of years, but even in recent times, there's plenty of this going on. Now we were talking recently about the Charlie Hebdo attacks and stuff. Now you have something interesting about that.
Yeah, because that was one of those moments when such an attack came close to us, so to say.
To Sabaton or to Sweden? What name did he say?
Because
sometimes there's plenty of this going on. Now we were talking recently about the Charlie Hebdo.
Charlie Hebdo? Charlie Hebdo is a French satirical weekly magazine. I don't think that's it. Charlie Hebdo is a French satirical magazine that covers topics such as politics, culture, religion, and the far right. Oh, maybe it is. The magazine's name translates to Charlie Weekly in English. Oh, okay. This could be it. Let's see what they say.
Yeah.
And stuff. Now you have something interesting about that.
Yeah, because that was one of those moments when such an attack came close to us, so to say. The attack on Charlie Hebdo in Paris happened.
They attacked the magazine, like the headquarters.
I think it was 3 days before our concert's gonna happen, just in the same street, just like few 100 meters down the street. So when we arrive at this concert venue on the show day, the whole place is basically at this concert venue on the show day. When we arrive at this concert venue on the show day, the whole place is basically barricaded and locked down, and all these police barricades everywhere. And we were super worried what's gonna happen, but
close in Paris. So when he said close to us, he meant close to the band, not close to Sweden. Got it.
Fans encourage us, do not cancel in this, because that would be to
what they wanted,
like kind of submit to these
terror.
things. So do not cancel, please play the show. So it was a weird feeling, because there was no cheering, no partying. All the fans who arrived at the scene, they saw all these police lockdown things, and as they were letting people inside, we realized also that this is a show. Normally we do not really, so to say, we play like Sabaton. We're always doing what we do, no matter the circumstances. And we perform our songs in the best way we can. In this case, we actually felt for the first time, I think, that we needed to adjust to the mood of this. We cannot run out and be all like that, because the fans here.
Wonder what they did. What did they do to it? I don't think they're going to talk about it. And who was the ones that attacked it? Let me see. I'm going to just type in Charlie Hebdo attack. Oh, here we go. On the 7th of January 2015, at about 11:30 in the morning in Paris, France, the employees of the French satirical weekly magazine Charlie Hebdo were targeted in a terrorist shooting attack by two French-born Algerian Muslim brothers, Saeed and Sharif. Armed with rifles and other weapons, the duo murdered 12 people and injured 11 others. They identified themselves as members of Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula, which claimed responsibility for the attack. They fled after the shooting, triggering a manhunt, and were killed by the GIGN on the 9th of January. The Kouachi brothers' attack was followed by several related Islamist terror attacks across the Something de France between the 7th and 9th of January 2015, including the kosher supermarket siege, in which a French-born Malian Muslim. I'm sorry, I know, guys, I know I'm butchering so much, and please don't come at me. Please don't go for the jugular, okay? took hostages and murdered 4 people, all Jews, before being killed by French commandos. Oh man, it always sucks how they always get shot in the end. But at the same time, you really want them to rot in jail? Some people think killing them is justice, but I don't know, man. I don't know. Yeah, keeping them alive, making them rot in jail is actually costing money, but you know, that is insane. Yeah, damn, that was bad. I can see why they wouldn't want to go all out and party like happy mode when 12 people just lost their lives, another 11 are trying to recover from their injuries. You know, that's tough. So I get what they're saying. Usually, no matter the circumstances, but sometimes you gotta read the crowd and be like, yeah, we can't just come in here and just be like, you know, a-holes, you know, even though that's clearly not their intent.
Of this, we cannot run out and be all like that, because the fans here, they want us to play, but they want us to also feel with them.
Yeah.
Also in under our normal gear, we had the Charlie Hebdo shirts, and I think it was a very emotional moment when Joachim opened his vest and he showed that we are also we are wearing this, and we saw it everywhere in the audience.
Okay.
There were a lot of people that night who requested us, can you please play In the Name of God?
Okay.
Because this song is about this. And we felt that the song would trigger anger, and it was not really what we wanted to trigger at that moment.
Well, what if
So they didn't play it then, right?
The song would trigger anger, and it was not really what we wanted to trigger at that moment.
Well, what about like things in the name of God that even directly affect bands, like the shooting, the Eagles of Death Metal shooting, 5 years ago, I guess it was?
Yeah, it's also in our memory, and it connects to us. I mean, we had people who were on site, and it's a very strange event in our career. I'm sitting and editing our live DVD, then I'm getting this message from one guy who is in Paris. And he sends me a message, I am safe. I was at the show, I'm safe. And I'm like, what is going on here? Then we see vague information coming out on Swedish site that there has been happening something in Paris. The whole night unfolds as we are watching, and
Well, yeah, so he did say after that attack there are several other attacks. Several? Several related Islamist terror attacks. Okay.
I'm thinking that this is happening in Bataclan, a place where Sabaton was just before this happened.
Okay.
It was also the same promoter that is involved in doing the Sabaton shows who did this concert. Not closely, but I am aware, and we met some people who didn't make it that night.
Wow.
And people that worked on our show just a few months earlier. And we also later had a tour bus which had bullet holes, and they kept the bullet holes in order to honor that, because it was the bus driver and the bus that was there that night. So, and we used that for riding around in Europe for a while. And again, there was suggestions when this happened. There is some fans, a lot of fans, who say, this is why you wrote the song, In the Name of God.
Well, it kind of is, to
Exactly.
draw attention to just that.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for sharing those stories with us
That's it for this week.
on Sabaton History. See you next time.
Listen to me, everybody. We love the Sabaton history.
Wow. 2015, I was kind of young. I guess I was, 2015, I don't remember this happening, but I guess I wasn't really paying attention. But when I was younger, I wasn't really watching the news anyway, so none of this was like sticking in my head. So I probably did hear about it at one point, but you know, I just thought, oh, it's not happening in my country. So, but even things in my own country, you know, things would happen and I didn't really care because I was just working every day. You know, I'm a real home bug. I stick to myself and I like to play video games, read books, you know. But dang, so yeah, this is about not only the origins of the terror, about kind of modernized terror too. Tragedy, how people, I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense to go to terrorism to, you know, scare a whole country, scare a whole nation, to disrupt the peace. And it's really easy because then teens, like I said, they see that and they're like, oh, the government ain't nothing. That if they can get their boots shaken by just these few guys, then what can I do to them, you know? And then that's, like I said, that feeds that rebellious dog in them. But that's pretty interesting how the history of terror goes back way back. So a couple of things I did write down. The only thing I should have wrote down more is probably about the attacks in Paris, because that I didn't know, but that's not really history, like history. It's more of like, it was about 10 years ago. So I did write down a few things. First of all, Brutus's betrayal is thought to be the first commitment of the terror attack. And of course, I wrote down the goal of terrorism apparently was to demonstrate the weaknesses against the elite, you know, government and such. And then the Ottoman Empire, I would like to learn some more about the Ottoman Empire, because that's pretty cool too, to learn about it. But so the Muslims, he said, kind of lost their unified authority when with the collapse of the Ottoman Empire. Very, I don't know much about the Ottoman Empire. I wish I did know more. Like I said, there's a lot more other countries and other things I would like to go delve deep into. Right now I'm writing this. I'm gonna do it. Maybe I'll just sprinkle in maybe every Friday and Saturday, not every single time. But I won't always do a Sabaton video. Maybe I'll do it more deep. Like I said, I want to do like some Polish history and stuff like that. So maybe I'll put those on Friday or Saturday. We'll see where the time takes us. I wrote a few things down. I didn't write a whole lot. Because it wasn't like huge facts. It was more of going over like events that occurred that were like considered to be acts of terrorism. But it's always, like I said, I really do enjoy reading this stuff because people have to know. People have to know about this stuff. I'm not saying to prevent it, because terrorism is going to be around, like he said, really hard to say. That's like saying making a law for everyone to just get along. That is not going to happen. That's just too impossible. Too many people that are unique. You're going to have good guys, you're going to have bad guys, and eventually they're going to cross over and things are going to go down. Anyways, I don't want to keep this video too long. Hope you guys enjoyed the reaction. I certainly enjoyed the video. Thank you to all my Patreon supporters out there. I really do appreciate it. Appreciate all my original Sabaton fans who are, or not fans, subscribers. I gotta stop saying the word fans. That's kind of cringy. You guys aren't fans. You guys are subscribers, and I appreciate every single one of you guys. Stay safe, stay blessed. Please tell someone you love them while you still can. Very interesting how things are going on in the world. That's kind of scary, and I'm getting into these subjects almost like it was meant to be a little bit. Maybe a little forewarning, you know, just be careful, look over your shoulder every now and then. Don't think you're safe just because where you're at, okay? Because this could pop up anywhere. That's why it's called terrorism. You never know what's going to happen. You never know when it's going to strike. And when it does strike, you know, it makes an impact. So like I said, stay safe, stay blessed, and I will catch you guys in the next one.